So, picture this. You've got this huge, super successful software company, and they hold this big investor call all about AI. You'd think the stock would just rocket, right? Well, nope, it tanked. And the big question is why? That's exactly the puzzle we're going to unpack right now. All right, so let's just get straight to it. Here's the aftermath. On September 22nd, immediately after this big AI presentation, Constellation Software stock just dropped nearly 5%. I mean, that's a pretty big deal, and you can bet it left a lot of investors just scratching their heads. So that leads us to the real mystery here. What on earth did the market hear on that call that made them so nervous? What was said? And maybe, even more telling, what wasn't said? Okay, to really get what's going on with Constellation, you've got to understand the mindset of their president, Mark Leonard. He started this whole AI talk not with some flashy, futuristic promises, but with a story. A warning, really. Yeah, he brought up this really bold prediction from back in 2016. It came from none other than Jeff Hinton, the guy they call the godfather of AI and Nobel winner. And Hinton was totally convinced. He thought AI was about to make human radiologists completely obsolete, like overnight. But here's the kicker, and this is the part Leonard really wanted everyone to hear. What actually happened? Well, since that prediction, the number of radiologists in the US didn't vanish. It went up. It grew by a whopping 17%, even faster than the population. And that right there is the core of Leonard's whole point. He's saying that even the smartest people in the room, the top experts, they always predict replacement. But what really happens? It's augmentation. AI didn't get rid of radiologists, it just gave them super tools. It made them better at their jobs. And kind of funny, it actually made them more in demand. So Leonard takes this whole radiologist story and he pivots. He applies that exact same lesson to the heart of his own business, software programming. And he laid out two totally different futures for investors. Two paths that are both, completely believable. Path one, a programmer renaissance. AI makes programmers 10 times more productive, and that sparks this huge demand for all sorts of custom software. Path two, a programmer recession. That same 10x boost just creates a massive glut of programmers, and demand stays flat. And his message was so clear, nobody knows, not even him. And then he just kept pouring cold water on all the AI hype. He warned that these early productivity numbers we're seeing, they could be an illusion. He was like, hold on, what about the hidden costs? Think about it, more bugs, a nightmare to maintain down the road, and who knows what the total cost of this AI-generated code will be over its lifetime? Good questions. Okay, so with all this caution, all this talk about being skeptical, what is Constellation actually doing about AI? What's their game plan? Well, their strategy is classic Constellation, if you know the company. It's all about radical decentralization. There is no big top-down AI master plan. Instead, they're just letting their hundreds of different business units go off and experiment on their own. Leonard even joked about it, saying, yeah, you're going to get some duplication of effort. But this let 1,000 flowers bloom idea means they get tons of learning across the whole company without betting the farm on one single idea. And they're not just talking, they actually showed the numbers. Just look at one of their operating groups. Already, 61% of the businesses in it are using AI and R&D. Half of them are using it in sales and marketing. You see? This isn't one giant risky bet. It's hundreds and hundreds of tiny little bets. But honestly, this next number might be the most important stat from the entire presentation. They asked a simple question. How many of your business units have actually replaced human jobs with AI? The answer? A tiny 3%. So for Constellation, this whole augmentation thing isn't just a nice theory. It's what's actually happening on the ground. So the strategy becomes really, really clear, right? It's all about making their people better, not getting rid of them. It's about careful, practical experiments, not some big, dramatic revolution from the top. All right, so if they're not trying to be the first one out of the gate, the big AI innovator, then how do they plan to win? I mean, what's their competitive advantage, their moat, as we head into this AI-driven world? This is where Leonard drew a really important distinction. He basically said that having a customer's data, well, that's not a real moat. Why? Because the customer owns it and can take it anywhere. But, he said, what is proprietary is their deep understanding of how their customers work, all that knowledge about business processes and workflows that they've baked into their software for decades. Now that's a real asset. And one of the other guys on the call, a panelist named Paul, he just nailed it.
He said, look, what's really important isn't the data, it's the processes. All of Constellation's specialized software is basically decades of expert knowledge about how these niche industries run their business. And that's the thing they think AI can make even more valuable.
All right, let's put it all together now. It's time to solve this mystery of why the stock took a hit. First things first, the big question for any investor. After hearing all this, is AI an existential threat to Constellation Software? Could it actually kill the company? Well, if you listen to their strategy, the answer seems to be a pretty clear no, for three reasons. One, they think their real advantage is that deep process know-how, and AI only makes that stronger. Two, they're not trying to be pioneers. They're happy being fast followers, adopting tech once it's proven. And three, their whole decentralized model lets them experiment and learn everywhere without risking the whole company on one bad bet. And that brings us right back to the stock drop. The market right now is absolutely obsessed with AI hype. They probably tuned in expecting to hear some grand revolutionary vision, but instead what they got from Constellation was a reality check. A sober, practical, almost boringly cautious one. So the stock drop, it probably wasn't a judgment on their actual strategy. It was a reaction to the lack of hype. You know, Mark Leonard's final words on the call really summed up their whole philosophy. He basically said, predicting the future is really, really hard. Instead, just watch what's happening right now, run your experiments, and most importantly, stay skeptical. I mean, that's the exact philosophy that built this incredible company. But yeah, on that one day, it just wasn't the exciting story the market was looking for. And that leaves us with one final thought. A really interesting question, actually. In a world that is just completely chasing the next shiny AI object, could this kind of methodical, grounded realism, could that actually be the smartest play of all? Is this cautious approach a weakness, or is it their secret weapon? For investors, well, that's the real billion-dollar question, isn't it?